In this video, we are going to be talking about muscles. So muscles are named because MUS means little mouse. Um, for some reason, people thought when they were naming these that muscles looked like there was mice scurrying beneath the skin, so they named them muscle, meaning little mouse. Uh, Muscle is going to include the flesh on your bones, but it also includes things like the tissue in your heart, the walls of your other organs. They are responsible for transforming chemical energy into a type of directed mechanical energy. There are three types of muscle: smooth, skeletal, and cardiac. There are some similarities and differences between each of them. So skeletal and smooth muscle cells are also called muscle fibers. Myo or the prefix MYO or MYS means muscle. Sarco means flesh. So anytime you hear myo or mys or sarco, it's generally referring to muscle. For example, the myofascia facial connective tissue that surrounds is the connective tissue that surrounds muscle tissue. The sarcolemma is the muscle plasma membrane that surrounds muscle. So let's talk about some characteristics of all muscle cells before we get into the different types of muscle. So first of all muscle cells are excitable. Excitability is the ability of a cell to receive and respond to a stimulus by changing its membrane potential. For muscle, the stimulus is usually some sort of chemical signal. So excitability is also something that muscle cells share with nerve cells, in that the membrane potential will change. And so we'll talk about what the normal membrane potential is and what triggers that change later on. The second thing that is a characteristic of muscle tissue is that it is contractile. That means that it has the ability to shorten forcibly when it is reaching a certain level of stimulation. This is a characteristic that is completely unique to muscle, and the rest of your cells in your body do not do this. A third characteristic is its extensibility, or the ability to extend or stretch. Muscles can actually be stretched beyond the resting length when relaxed. And then the last thing that is a characteristic is the muscle's elasticity, or its ability of a muscle cell to recoil and resume its resting length after stretching. The functions of muscle, so obviously it produces movement. Skeletal muscle cells are responsible for the movement of your skeleton in different ways, but the other types of muscle cells are going to produce movement as well, like the blood coursing through your body because of the rhythm of your heart, and the smooth muscle cells in the walls of your vessels, which can shorten or relax to alter blood pressure. The other functions include maintaining posture and body position. So even when you're not moving, the skeletal muscle cells are in a state of contraction that allows a continued adjustment to our overall posture and body position to keep us upright. Muscles will help to stabilize joints. Even as you pull on bones to cause movement, they are going to contract and relax in ways that stabilize the joints of the skeleton. And a final function, which is sometimes seen as a secondary response, but sometimes can actually be or is actually also a way of maintaining normal body temperature, is their ability to generate heat. So obviously more muscle contraction, like when you are exercising, is going to produce more heat. But even just our innate muscle contractions are going to produce a certain level of heat. And as you've noticed, if you're cold, you might start shivering. Those are muscle contractions that help to generate heat. All right, so we're going to talk about the three different kinds of muscle tissue, starting with smooth muscle. So smooth muscle is found in the walls of your hollow visceral organs. They are going to help to force fluids and other substances through internal body openings. They also help things like your pupils contract and will be in your skin as a form of your erecti pilae muscle. They form valves that open and close to allow substance to move through the body. They consist of elongated cells. These cells are going to lack striations. So we'll talk about striations when it comes to skeletal muscle in particular, and why skeletal muscle has striations, but smooth muscle does not. It is also involuntary. This means that it is not something that you consciously have to think about to control, but something that your brain and body is working on in the background to regulate. And they generally are going to produce slow and sustained contractions that helps with the overall function of the organs that you find them in. So a few additional details about smooth muscle. You have two layers of smooth muscles that when you find them in your hollow organs, they're usually, or at least you usually have two layers, and they usually are organized into tightly packed fibers. So the two layers include a longitudinal layer where the muscle fibers are going to run parallel to the long axis of the organ. A contraction of this layer will generally shorten the organ. The other muscle fibers are going to run around the circumference of it. So this is your circular layer of muscle cells. This is going to result in constriction of the lumen when the muscle cells contract. Overall, the alternating contracting and relaxation of these layers helps to mix substances in the lumen and squeeze them through the organ's internal pathway. If you learn about the digestive system, this is going to be a major role in the mixing of food and the squeezing and pushing it through the organs. In addition to that, contraction of the smooth muscle cell in the rectum, urinary bladder, and the uterus help these organs to expel their contents out of the body. All right, the next type of muscle cell that we're going to talk, or muscle tissue that we're going to talk about, is cardiac muscle. So cardiac muscle is found exclusively in the heart. It is striated. This picture doesn't really show it well, but you do see striations within the muscle cells themselves. Like smooth muscle, it is involuntary. And something else that's kind of unique to this is that it's going to, on its own, produce steady contractions. These contractions can be altered, generally increased by the neural control of the system, but overall they have this innate steady contraction to them. Cardiac muscle will be highlighted more if you learn about the cardiovascular system. So we're not going to talk too much about the cardiac muscle aside from this short introduction. Finally, skeletal muscle. Skeletal muscle is found in your skeletal muscles. So your skeletal muscles are organs that are going to actually attach and cover to the skeleton. Skeletal muscle, and you can see this very clearly, at least compared to the cardiac muscle, is going to be striated. These striations are going to be related to how the muscle fibers are oriented together and work together in skeletal muscles. This is also unique in that it is voluntary. So conscious control is going to determine how you move your skeletal muscles. They can contract rapidly and exert a tremendous power, but they do tire easily. Skeletal muscle is also extremely adaptable. Like anyone that has done some exercise will recognize this can lead to changes in the overall composition of muscle, making it stronger and larger. All right, this brings us to the organization of the skeletal muscles. So there are actually 3 connective tissue layers that make up the muscle of skeletal muscles. So first of all, you have your most superficial layer, which is going to be made up of the epimysium. So the epimysium is going to be made up of dense, irregular connective tissue. It surrounds the entire tissue. So you can see over in this picture, this is the epimysium that is surrounding the entire skeletal muscle. Now within each skeletal muscle, the fibers are going to be grouped together into muscle fascicles. So these fascicles are fibers that are grouped together. Each fascicle, so we can see the fascicle right here, and then isolated down here, is going to be covered in another type of connective tissue that is still dense, irregular, but it's known as the perimysium. So you can see the perimysium is surrounding this muscle, and it's in this picture lifted up so that you can see it. And then finally, you have the sorry, I was pointing at the wrong thing. Finally, you have the endomysium, which is what you see here. This is a wispy sheet of fine areolar connective tissue that surrounds each muscle fiber. So overall, the endomysium is going to be what covers the sarcolemma of the actual muscle cells. The muscle cells themselves are going to be made up of myofibrils, which are going to be the individual contractile protein, or made up of the individual myofibril or contractile proteins that lead to muscle cell contraction. We'll talk more about muscle cell structure and that. A few other things to note about the skeletal muscle. It is going to actually be multinucleate. So you have all these structures in here that represent the nucleus. You have lots of mitochondria embedded within them as well. So these are kind of unique features of muscle cells, the mitochondria in general, but then the multinucleate is a feature of skeletal muscle. All right, in muscles, you have 2 types of attachments. So you can have direct attachments or fleshy attachments where the epimysium of the muscle is fused with the periosteum of the bone or the perichondrium of the cartilage. So this is not going to be something that you are seeing in these pictures over here, because these represent indirect attachments. So in indirect attachments, the muscles, connective tissue wrappings extend beyond the muscle, either as a tendon like you see in the upper right, the Achilles tendon, or a sheet-like aponeurosis like in the bottom right, the palmar aponeurosis that you see. So these connect muscle to the connective tissue of skeletal element or the fascia of other muscles. All right, so that is an overview of muscles. In our next video, we're going to be looking more at the sarcomere structure and its function.